Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. And Captain Dobie, good evening, welcome also. I would apologise for the late start, but it's not a late start, I just delayed the start and I'm not going to apologise. I was watching the latest Doctor Who that has just launched tonight. And I didn't want to watch the recording, so I watched it live. Well, ish. I watched it when it's first broadcast. Anyway, carving. Pussycat carving. And I need to change that text. I have just realised I have an error in the text. Which is scrolling around the top of the screen, so I just need to change that. There we go. I thought I'd got everything right and I missed something, so what am I doing on the pussycat? Shaping the legs, I think, or at least something that looks like legs, until I'm happy with it. And then the face, I'm kind of putting the face off because I don't quite know I can do the face, but we shall see. So I was working on these upper arms, which I also need to, I kind of I'm exaggerating slightly. The shoulder blades usually aren't this wide as I've done them here, but without recarving most of it, I'm sort of just going to cheat. So I don't know if there's anybody else, if there's anybody watching from the UK. Anybody also watch Doctor Who tonight? It's already shaping up to be an interesting series. All I'm doing here is we've got the shoulder blade roughly where I want it, and what I'm doing is straightening this out so that it's not as curved as I currently have it, because of course the bones are relatively straight. Lay it to one side so I don't actually accidentally catch myself on it. That doesn't look too bad. Let's round the bottom of this off. After all, the paws aren't flat. Still got to do something on the front as well. Because of course the paws are only so wide. So I've somehow got to give the impression that you've got some cute paws on the front. Which is something that just occurred to me literally just now. Right, so let's switch blades. This one is a little bit shorter. This is a detail blade. What it's got is got a finer tip on it, so you can get into smaller spaces to create detail. Also the blade is a little bit shorter, which allows you to get closer to the work and have better control over the tip of the knife. So I'm just smoothing out around here. I'm not quite sure I like the shape. It's not too bad, but I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Okay, I'm a bit happy with that shape, and it's rather fat looking, so we are going to make it a little bit thinner, which is quite useful. It'll give me a little bit more space to carve around the head. Exilian, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. I trust you are well. Cheers. You have a wee glass of whiskey. Okay. I'm familiar with what the what some Scottish would describe as a wee dram or a wee drop, a wee glass. If you pour the whiskey from the bottle into the glass, you don't get much left in the bottle. Castan, good evening, welcome. The Killer 8311. What are you making? Okay. I'm guessing that you're only listening to me, you're not actually watching the stream. The reason I'm guessing that is because I'm being sarcastic, and if I remember which way to point, which is there, it should be kind of obvious, but it's a pussycat, a sleeping pussycat. Sorry, it just tickles my sense of humour when somebody asks that, and you know, with it being written there. So we're making a sleeping pussycat. Oh dear, sorry. Well, that's what I'm trying to make anyway. What I end up making is anybody's guess. This is the first time I have done any 3D carving. Well, sort of. I say sort of because I actually started two pieces at the same time. I've done a little bit more with the other one than this. I just picked this one up again. But I've not completed a 3D carved piece yet. I have been doing relief carving before, and I generally use chisels then, not knives. So this is kind of also the first time I've used the knives extensively to do any form of carving. So I am learning as I go along. See if I can get a gouge in there. Actually, I could probably do it using the other gouge. This one's not so bad. Do revert to the chisel sometimes. Certain things are easier with a chisel than they are with the knives that I have. Like getting into this space in here is a heck of a lot easier using this gouge than it would be trying to use the knives to do it. Being a little bit careful to try and follow the shape of the face. I don't want to gouge into the face. Oh, carving the next level. I suppose in a way 2D to 3D, or 2.5D to 3D. I've gone up half a level. Although I suppose technically, because I'm not going to carve the bottom, this could be called a sort of relief carving, but it's not really. Not truly accurate either to call it that, but it is kind of a step up. Right, let me let's switch gouges, switch to a smaller gouge, which I think is that one. Yep. I have to study it because I've got a V-shaped gouge, the same size, and it's tiny. Actually, I can see it better on screen than I can in person. Leon VDD 1234. Thank you very much. Kind of you to say so. Because this is a smaller gouge, I can get in small spaces. Isn't that an amazing concept? You get smaller spaces with a smaller tool. Who'd have thought? I don't need to go really deep there because the cat has fur which will sort of, you know, hide all sorts of things. Switch back to the knife. Basically just smoothing that area out a little bit because the gouge leaves lots of little ridges unless you're really careful with it. The hard bit is whenever you got, like I have here now, just a small slither of wood that I'm trying to get rid of, and you don't ever want to try and break even little slivers off. You really want to cut them. It's cleaner if you cut them rather than prizing them off, because then it's a rough piece of wood and it tends to make your knife a bit blunt as well. Now, I really don't think this is the right shape for a paw, but I'd have to go look at a real life model to find out. And the one that's over there isn't sleeping in this pose, and the one that does tend to sleep in this pose isn't around at the moment. Will you sell it when it's finished? I could, Castang, but to be honest, I probably won't. Depends on how much. I say it depends on how much I want to keep it. I don't particularly have any objection to selling carvings or pyrography or any of the art forms off. The only thing that I The only difficulty I have is that to put a commercial price on it, they're expensive because of the number of hours that have gone into making it. This is, oh, I'd have to have a look back now, but we've probably been carving this for something like about 12 hours. Mohammed Twitch TV, thank you very much. So something like 12, at least 12 hours. So if you're trying to, if you just think of how much that costs in time, then it's not cheap. Dull Dragon, you made a wooden shoe. That's amazing. Carved from a solid block of wood, or just the sole with, and then using other material for strapping. But well done. Any pictures of said carved shoe? They would, I'm going to say, hand carving. If you're talking about a full shoe like a clog, hand carving the foot space would drive me potty. They get in there. I know you know, using the right tools, it's a lot easier, but yeah, solid wood with decoration. That is amazing. That is amazing, Dull Dragon. I am nowhere near that that good at carving to do anything like that. I suppose if I use the rotary tools, it would be a bit easier, but let's shape this one over a bit. If you're doing things like that, Dull Dragon, you really ought to stream doing it if you could, because that would be well, for me it would be a really interesting thing to watch if I was able to do so. One's rounding off more, but we'll deal with that in a little while. just static. Thank you for following. That's kind of you. Now that's an interesting name. Of course, it can mean a couple of things. It can either mean that you do nothing, as in static, or it could refer to the noise when you're not tuned to a viable radio station, or TV station for that matter. So I'm kind of mirroring what I've done on the other side a little bit here. I've often noticed with a cat when they lie in this sort of position, they're kind of curved, even though they're not often curved. When they bend the head right around like that, it tends to throw this side of them forward a little bit and brings this back a bit, even though their body does not always tend to be curved much. So I'm not doing an exact mirror. This leg is slightly in front of that one, but I'm just trying to get it looking similar. Actually, I probably could use the gouge in this point here. Remembering that bones are straight. That was an illustration of why I wear the Kevlar glove. The chisel went a little bit further than I was expecting, and it shot out here. Where can you find basswood? Dear. Sorry. I'll give the answer that came to mind the instant I read the question, Castang, then I'll answer it again. In a tree. Wood merchants, basically. It's well, in America certainly it's a fairly common wood. It seems to be less common in the UK. I'm not sure whether that's because there are basically more people carving in the States than in Europe. There seems to be a lot of lathe carving done in Europe, perhaps more than the States, and maybe that's why. But outside of the States, it may be difficult to find because it could go by its other name, which is European lime wood. But basically, I would say almost any wood merchants, or certainly any wood merchants that specialise in carving, whether it's bowl, machine carving for things like lathes and stuff like that, or hand carving. But even just general wood shops, because it is a wood that has or does sometimes get used in construction because of the qualities of the wood. So it is sort of quite generally available, shall I say. Getting it in the sizes that you want is perhaps the difficult bit. And if you can actually go into a store or a merchant's rather than ordering it online, then at least you can get to choose the wood yourself, rather than obviously them just shipping you whatever blanket is that you've ordered, and you don't actually know whether it's got knots in it or anything like that. Like, you know, basswood isn't so bad for things like knots. They're reasonably stable when you do come across them. They don't really particularly tend to fall out like you might get with some other woods. And given that the density of them is similar to the normal wood, when you're carving it, you can generally speaking carve straight through them. It's not very soft. I mean, balsa wood, for example, would be very soft. It's kind of a, I mean, something like pine, generally speaking, would be softer than basswood, but pine has a lot of the density varies depending on the rings. The thing about basswood is it's softish, but it's quite consistent. I don't know if you can. I'll show you on here. That won't help. And what I'm trying to do is, I don't know. You can't. It's not very easy to show you this. I just about see them. You can see. Hopefully, you can see dark lines. Just a few dark lines that are going horizontally. I'm not used to working with the camera upside down, but there's sort of one just off the tip of the knife there, and there's another one back here, and there's a couple here, one there and one there. They're the growth rings of the wood. Now on pine, those rings are quite hard to slice through, and you end up with an undulating surface. On basswood, they're almost the same density, so you get a nice clean cut. It's a reasonably, I say it's reasonably firm or reasonably soft. It holds edges quite well. Softer woods the edges will tend to sort of round off. They're a bit spongy, and they sort of round off and won't take detail. So basswood is kind of it's soft enough, but it's firm enough to take the detail, soft enough to hand carve easily, and the characteristics of it are quite good in terms of carving. For beginners like me, it's relatively forgiving, shall we say, than some other woods. It's definitely, you know, for beginners, it's definitely one of the better woods to try. In fact, that's going to be even. Let's come back to about that. Okay, just marking where I want the sort of that bone to be. So now just carving away from the line to create the transition from the forward paw, upper paw, into the chest and neck. Yeah. Oh. You've been working with things like mahogany and things like that, dull dragon. Yeah. I've not. It's a long time ago. I did some carpentry with things like mahogany, and that was interesting. I mean, I am, and you'll probably, yeah, hardwoods produce a really nice carve. I guess because. Sorry, I can hear a beeping. Because they, you know, I imagine they hold the shape, the edges really well. But I wouldn't like to do one by hand. I did a piece with the hand chisels in ash, just a bit of ash I happened to have lying around, and boy was that hard work. It turned out, well, in the end, it was one of the shallowest relief carves I've ever done. Because it was so hard to cut with the hand tools, and I actually don't have a mallet handle for the chisels, so I couldn't really use a mallet while I was doing it. I'd have destroyed the handle that I've got if I'd have tried that. One of the things I'd love to try is I've got a big flex drive motor. Well, I say big, it's about 1/4 horsepower, and what I can get for that is a reciprocal drive. So instead of it spinning, it actually oscillates backwards and forwards, just like a you know, so if I put a chisel in the end of it, it sort of hammers the chisel, and I can get then from there I can get an adapter that actually takes these same chisels. So I'm kind of I've been kind of tempted for a little while to get hold of that particular handpiece and the adapter, and then try out things like carving into sort of just an old block of wood basically, or some actually firewood, you know, a chopped tree trunk, yeah, it'd be about a 12-inch tree trunk, but it's chopped into segments. That's kind of intrigues me to want to try. I like doing things the easy way, you see, power tools like that, but power tools that let me use the handcraft skills rather than just power tools that power through things. I was just thinking there, Dual Dragon, I suppose if you started working on basswood like this, it'd be kind of like me suddenly working on balsa wood. I'd be tending to slice most of it away by accident. I'll have a go at that in a minute with a gouge. do need to sort of thin down these paws top to bottom, or this paw top to bottom. That one now is quite a thin top to bottom. This one's quite thick. I guess once I was about to say, once you're into carpentry and things like that, Doll Dragon, it's kind of an easy thing to carry on making. It's furniture stuff. Kind of be interesting to take a headboard and carve the headboard. Yeah, a fairly chunky piece like that, and I don't quite know what I'd carve into a headboard, but it sounds like it'd be an interesting thing to try. You just carved a butter knife. What? Including the blade? Letter openers are another favourite one for doing fully things in wood. Obix, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Never tried carving a knife. Well, as I've just mentioned, I've never tried carving much at all. It's a knife. Interesting idea. Maybe I'll put that on the ideas list for something in the future. So, did you do anything fancy on the handle? I don't know. What would you do on a butter knife? Carve a cow? Perhaps, I don't know. Right, well, strictly speaking, this is a paw, so what I need to do is make it look like a paw as well. So I need to carve away some of the material here. I don't know how far I want to go with it, but just so the paws stick out from the front a little. So again, it's a little unrealistic pose. But I don't care. I'm not after 100% accuracy, mainly because I wouldn't know what 100% accuracy is. But I'm just going for something I like the look of. A mahogany table. Oh wow! I made a mahogany table when I was at school, and that was hard enough. And that was just a simple, small table. 4 legs, top rails, mortise and tenon joints, and actually the top wasn't solid mahogany, it was plywood and then mahogany veneered, but the frame was solid mahogany, and that was hard. I remember that being really hard wood to chisel out, actually to saw as well for that matter. LH, good afternoon, good evening here in the UK. It's 9:30 PM at night. You burned a text? Oh, I'm guessing you mean pyrography. I had to think then. Well, it didn't make sense. Okay. What did you put it on? Doing text actually, well, pyrography text can be quite hard to get it consistent. So if you manage, then well done. .3:32 in Colombia. Yeah, time zones, weird things but necessary. A dinner table, 4 foot by 4 foot. That's quite large. Oh, but yeah, into the knife. Yeah. Yeah, I think the table that I did was probably about 3 feet by 2 feet. So what that be? A metre by about 0.6 of a metre. Iclathid, if that's correct. Welcome. Good evening. Welcome to the studio. Now I've got to be careful. I know the wood grain on here is just about vertical or along the length of the body. So I'm being a little bit wary because whilst in theory it shouldn't happen, if I go straight down and I'm cutting along the grain, I could split the whole thing off all the way down, and I'm a little bit nervous of that. And of course the way to do that is to make sure I put the stop cuts in first, which of course is basic carving, which I'd forgotten. I think this knife also probably needs a little bit of a strop. And hello, Junior. Now don't sit on there. Excuse the blackout, but that's a black pussycat who has decided to get washed. Come on, come here, because this is where you want to go, I think. Yes, it's a bright light. Come on, Junior. Come on. Let me lift you up from there. just down onto there. And put that there, that's it. There you go. You can settle down now. Excuse me while I settle down, Junior. You can sort of see him. This is his head end at this end. Otherwise he'll be trying to sit on the desk. And if he does that, I won't be able to do any carving. No, not on the desk. If you want to go, you can go down there. I'm going to lay down. If you lay down in the right pose, I can use you as a model. That's it. That's better. I've got him to lay down now. How often do I sharpen my knives? Generally about, on average, about every half hour, Dull Dragon. I do the same with the chisels. But basically, if it feels a little bit off, then I'll sharpen them, even if I did it 2 minutes ago. Hone that, well, strop them. I don't actually sharpen them. I've never actually needed to sharpen them. So effectively, all I'm doing is all I do is strop them with some polishing compound, which is what I'm kind of about to do now. I'm not working them hard enough to need to sharpen them, or they just don't need sharpening. Yeah, all right. I know you're not being stroked enough. Okay. When he first settles down, you need to keep sort of occasionally stroking him for a little while before he sort of settles enough to not be bothered about getting up. Otherwise, what he'll do is he'll keep standing up like he has done now. You're going to lay back down now. You can't go on the desk, I'm afraid. Not at the moment. You're alright, you've got your eye closed. You're okay. Excuse me, guys. What I should do, I guess, is whilst I'm just doing this, is just tip the camera up a little bit so you can see what's going on. You sharpen your knives after about 15 minutes. Yeah. I'm not being particularly very fast though, Dull Dragon, so when I'm on stream and I'm talking, it's obviously when I'm off stream and I'm working a bit faster, then it probably would be more along those sorts of lines. Sometimes I get this knife feels a bit blunt. I'll go, well, why don't I just sharpen it? And I kind of forget sometimes. Come on, settle down. Despite the fact that I keep going on about the fact that a sharp knife is safer, or a sharp chisel for that matter. I keep mentioning it and then I keep forgetting to do it. You're going to settle back down now. Yes, you've got sharp claws and I can feel them. I think that my knife is sharper, but let's not have a contest. Hello. That's Junior saying he'd like to be stroked. I don't know if you saw that. He puts his paw up on you. Come on then, there you go. Of course, if he doesn't get his own way, so no, if you do something that he doesn't like, he does get his own back though. as you might see. Spartacus Burger, good evening. Right, are you going to be settled for a little while? In actual fact, just whilst he is laid there, let me just... I should replace this piece of leather, it's getting a little bit black. That's a bit different. Ow. Do I have a wet start? No, I don't. Well, actually, yes, I do. I have 3 of them. In various grits. I actually got them to sharpen a cheap set of chisels. This is Aragon Art. One Christmas bought me a set of chisels from the craft shop. At the time, it was a really nice present because she knew I was interested in carving, but obviously she didn't know anything about it, and unfortunately the chisels are not really very good, and they are as blunt as a blunt chisel. And they just it wasn't a matter of honing them sharp, they just weren't sharp. And so I did get a set of stones, of wet stones, to try and sharpen them, because quite frankly they were given to me as a present and I'd like to be able to use them at least for a little bit if I could. But I just have, unfortunately, I haven't got round to actually soaking the stones and trying to sharpen up the chisels. But yes, I have a set. I just never needed to use them on these, or on the flex cut chisels that I've got. Just that honing that you saw me doing is enough to restore the edge on these knives. Okay, that's making me a little bit nervous. There's a bit too much force going into that. Hello. Interested in what's going on? Switch to the fine. Now then, the trick is going to be to remove that ridge. That's there. When my wife first saw me carving with these knives, no, settle down. She got quite nervous of me using them because of as you've seen, it kind of looks like I'm about to slice my thumb off every time I use them, and she still doesn't really, even now that she understands I'm doing it safely. She still doesn't like to watch me carve for that reason. Are you going to settle down? Or are you going to go under the table? Hello. Yes. This fella is kind of the model. He's certainly been the model for one of the pyrographic items, and he's sort of the model for this because he about 6 months ago he was laid at the other side of the studio in that sort of pose, and I just drew him on the side of a block of wood and then just started roughing it out. But it's not a detailed match to him at all by any means. You're going to settle back down, because if you're not, you probably have to go on the floor. These people have come to watch me carve, not stroke a pussycat. I know they like us pussycat, but that doesn't mean that that's the whole thing they want to watch. Yeah. No, that's right. I agree. Dull Dragon. I mean, the more force you use, the more dangerous it becomes as well. Especially with basswood, it's kind of, if you need to use force, you're doing it wrong. Is the way I look at it. Some other woods like mahogany that you're working on, I don't know. Ash kind of needed a bit of force, but okay, LH, great. If you're going to do some art at the same time, I don't mind, of course. Cyber, I don't know. I guess you were being disruptive in some way, or asking personal questions perhaps. Don't forget, Twitch terms and conditions, not to ask personal questions, and one of the mods will have timed you out if you'd have been doing that. Okay, come on, settle down. And he's looking to, what he's doing is he's looking to sort of, as cats do sometimes, just curl around a little bit. He's now putting his claws into me. It's a sort of movement. He's trying to find a comfortable position to go to sleep. Come on, settle down. That's it. Now he should have settled down. What he's done is he's tucked his front paws under and then promptly stuck them out again. But generally cats only do that when they're going to settle down for a long period. You're going to settle there. This is going to be interesting because he kind of doesn't like me working over the top of him, but he might settle. Well, that's probably it then. That's kind of a rude question. I'm cyber because I was wearing trousers. I was just wearing short trousers. Who's Phil? Yeah. But I'm kind of guessing you probably wouldn't be using a knife in mahogany. I'm kind of imagining sort of a rather a long chisel with quite a large round mallet on the end of it in mahogany. Okay, so I want that front paw there as well. So, okay. I don't actually like carving with my elbows in the air when I'm doing hand carving. There's a tendency to use too much force. Tend to use your arm muscles rather than your hand muscles. You're not going to be happy, are you? Come on. Let's put you down on the ground. There's a good boy. Come back after the stream, which won't be long, but... No, my name isn't Philip. My name is Arrogant Art. You use special knives. Okay. So, if you're talking about bling there, then Boom Arrow, I assume you're talking about the bracelet that I'm wearing, which is ow! Sorry about that. Those of you who may be wearing a headset, he actually didn't put his claws out that time. It's alright. He's come and sat behind the camera, and so you're going to get glare and all sorts, I'm afraid. I shall try and avoid it, but I don't particularly want to be attacked like he just did then. But he did it with his claws retracted, so I'm quite safe. But he's back on the desk. I'll just go watch out, because if he settles a little bit there, I'm going to be stuck. In fact, what time is it? Okay. I think given the fact that the cat's here. Yeah, it's made out of sterling silver rings, so I made it for myself. Just like I make some of the other jewellery, so it's made out of sterling silver rings. I can't describe it as a sterling silver bracelet though, because it's not hallmarked, but it's been made out of sterling silver rings with a sterling silver clasp on it, and then it's woven. It's a chainmail weave called half Persian, 4-in-1. I'm actually going to now that the cat's on the desk and he's jumped back up, given when I tried to persuade him to go on the floor, what he's probably going to do is get quite disruptive now by trying to curl up and go to sleep, and that's obviously is not a good idea with knives around. We're getting to 10 o'clock at night, so I normally stop. It's going to be a few minutes early, but I'm going to stop the stream early with the cat there. It kind of wouldn't be very safe, and trying to move him wouldn't be very safe. So I'm going to do is pack up. But thank you all for watching. What I'm going to do is, as Boom mentioned there, the jewelry, alluded to the jewellery, I'm going to remind everybody that if you have an interest in jewellery, either for yourself or for some friend, then I do sell some of the I do make and sell jewellery, some of which is on the Etsy store, which is scrolling around the top of the screen, and Moobot has been dropping into chat every so often. At the moment there's a 5% discount available till the end of this month. If you're interested, then take a look. Each piece is made to order, so they are newly made, all newly made items. That's my roughing knife. So what I'm also going to say is, if there's anybody that's watching that isn't following, then I encourage you to push the follow button. Let me lose the light, which will make the main camera go dark, I'm afraid, but it'll stop you getting glare in that camera there with the cat that is busy pushing cameras around. You're also quite welcome to follow me on Twitter at @Zerganart. Details are below the stream window. They'll also be on the end plate in a moment. And if you'd just like to catch tomorrow night's stream, which will be at the normal time since Doctor Who isn't on a Sunday, then that's why I was late. No, that's why I started at 8:30 tonight. Then right, that's the sharp stuff away. The pussycat's safe, and probably so am I. Yeah, I start at 8 PM UK time, 1900 hours GMT, or about 2 hours ago was 8 PM in the UK. So thank you all for watching, and forget about the trousers, otherwise I follow Twitch terms and conditions. Let me move your tail, pussycat. That was a warning. So I'll see you all again tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll carry on with the with this pussycat, and hopefully not that one that's sat on the desk at the moment, tomorrow night. Thank you all, and I'll see you later.